Well, I'll tell you, the amount of excitement that surrounded the launch of the Yamaha Tenere 700 was crazy when the bike came out in 2019. The original concept bike came out in 2016, and the world was buzzing for 3 years until Yamaha released the T7 to worldwide acclaim, except in North America where I live. I had to watch other people ride it on YouTube until 2020 when it finally came to Canada and I ordered one in the spring. I got to test a blue press bike in the summer of 2020 and finally received my white and red one in the fall. And it has been a great motorcycle, my favorite out of all the motorcycles I've owned over the last 26 years. But now I am seriously thinking about selling it. Why and what are the plans for a future replacement? Stay tuned. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and sharing it with friends. I love my Tenere 700, don't get me wrong. This was the motorcycle that did everything I wanted when I bought it. It has good power, 72 horses and 49 pound-feet of torque. Not class-leading, but enough for cruising the highway, some sporty riding in the twisties, and a quick pass on a 2-lane. And what the specs don't tell you is that this CP2 engine sounds awesome and has grunt down low off-road. It pulls like a tractor at slow speeds on the trail and doesn't bog down. Traction is awesome and the rear wheel hooks up beautifully. The suspension is pretty decent and soaks up the rough stuff even at high speed. And as far as reliability, not even a hiccup, ever, and I haven't been gentle on it. It's a simple, affordable bike. Canadian MSRP was $12,500 when I bought it, and there's no electronics except for a button that turns off ABS. Is it perfect? No, and it's less perfect today than it was in 2020 when I got it. Wet weight is 452 pounds and mine has engine guards, bag mounts, center stand, and heated grips and a bunch of other stuff that pushes the weight closer to 500 pounds. Additionally, the gas tank sits high, which makes this bike top heavy. Finally, because of the geometry which puts the power down to the dirt, the chain has some slack in it at times and makes for a snatchy throttle. It's something I've gotten used to over the years, so it's no big deal to me, but a new rider might be surprised. Finally, because the throttle is cable operated, there is no cruise control and won't be unless Yamaha changes the bike to ride-by-wire. But that's not why I'm considering selling it. The T7 does well enough on pavement, and while I'd like cruise control, not having it is not a deal breaker. And while the weight is substantial for off-roading, the bike is balanced well and can take on some single track as long as it's not too gnarly or technical. And for harder single track, I have an enduro bike. So not only is this motorcycle capable of doing everything I want, but it's also paid for and already has the accessories I want, so if I don't get a good price on a private sale, I might end up paying quite a bit extra on a new bike plus taxes and accessories. But the first reason to sell it is that I hardly ride it. In the 4.5 years I've owned it, I've put only 11,000 kilometers on the thing. And that's not because I don't like it or don't want to ride it, it's because during the limited Canadian riding season, I always end up testing other bikes for my videos and find that in order to get a good feel for them, I need to ride them as much as possible, which results in the old T7 gathering dust in the garage. I'm not a professional YouTuber, I have a full-time job and a baby at home, so once you factor in the YouTube channel and riding press bikes in the spring, summer, and fall, I hardly have the time to ride my own motorcycles. This situation is not permanent, and I do plan on retiring early from my day job, but that won't be for a few years yet, so in the meantime, why hold on to a motorcycle I hardly use? With all these responsibilities, I just never hop on the bike to head for the horizon looking for adventure, but rather have to make do with shorter rides that tend to skew off-road. If I have a couple of hours for a ride, I'll almost always opt for a dirt ride, and like I said, I have a dedicated enduro bike that's a lot better at that than the Tenere. And if I do end up owning another road motorcycle, I have one simple criterion for it. It has to weigh less than 400 pounds or 180 kilograms in order to be carried on the hitch mount motorcycle rack on the back of my truck. Strictly according to the specs, I could technically put my Tenere back there, but even a 400-pound bike looks precarious on the rack, and a 500-pound one would be cutting it too close to the edge in my opinion. Even if the hitch and rack hold up, Hanging a heavy motorcycle off the back of your vehicle reduces the weight on the front wheels, which do the steering, and could negatively affect the handling of my truck. I plan on driving that truck on camping trips and vacations with my family, and I don't want to do anything that would endanger my wife and daughter. So it seems that I need to downgrade the size of my road motorcycle in order to take it with me on future family adventures. The plan is to load the humans in the truck, camping gear and bicycles in the bed, and hang a sub 400 pound off-road worthy street legal motorcycle off the back of the whole rig. It's a good plan, but the Tenere does not fit into it. But what bike does? Well, I can eliminate several right off the bat. Anything high maintenance like the KTM 500 EXC or Husqvarna 501 version of the same thing are out. I don't want to change oil very often and do plan on spending some time on pavement going to the trail. Those bikes, while being technically street legal, are basically dirt bikes with license plates and are uncomfortable at higher speeds and terrifying on the highway. They are also too pricey for what they are in my opinion. Less pricey are the Honda CRF 300L, 300L Rally, and Kawasaki KLX 300. And they are all nice motorcycles which fall well under the 400 pound weight limit and $6.5K US price, but they also have only 26 or so horsepower, and I'm looking for a bit more. The Kawasaki KLR 650 is out, it's as heavy as my Tenere, and the Suzuki DR 650, while a great bike, would need suspension work to get it the way I want. The Honda XR 650L is unfortunately no longer on sale in Canada, and the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 and CF Moto MT 450 both weigh in at over 420 pounds, just a bit too heavy. So yes, I'm pretty picky, but that only leaves me with a few choices for a possible new bike. One is the Cove Rally 450, literally a Dakar racer. This bike seems perfect in every way, with a wet weight of 368 pounds, even with a massive 32-liter fuel tank, and over 50 horsepower claimed, though testers say it feels like a lot less. That's fine, even 40 would be enough for me. The Rally also has serious suspension and a pretty reasonable price tag for what you get, $9.5K US and $12.5 Canadian. My biggest worries about this bike are reliability and lack of dealer support. My closest dealer would be on the other side of Toronto, which is a 2.5-hour drive on a good day and a 3.5 to 4-hour drive in traffic. I see a lot of good reviews, but not too much info on how the bike holds up long term. Without assurances that Cove has staying power in Canada, I'm hesitant to take the plunge. Another option is the new Suzuki DRZ4S, basically a DRZ400 with upgraded suspension, LED lighting, and fuel injection. This is a straight-up dual sport with a wet weight of 333 pounds. The old carbureted bike was 317. And it has Japanese reliability. The reviews of this bike are great, and I believe it. Suzuki has had 25 years to dial this thing to perfection, and at around 38 to 39 horsepower, it has decent poke. However, the biggest upgrade to this bike over the 2024 model is price, because these cost $9K US and $11,900 Canadian. That does include destination fees, but still, $12K Canadian for what is essentially a nice trail dual sport? I remember when these things were $7K new, 5 years ago. You can still get a 2024 for between $8 and $9K Canadian in my area. Is fuel injection and an upgraded fork worth $4,000 extra? I mean, they didn't even give it a 6th gear with that price hike. If it had a 6th gear, bigger tank, and a fairing, okay. But $12K Canadian seems steep considering the Kawasaki KLX 300 costs $7K and is almost as good. And lighter. One motorcycle that gives you a lot of bang for the buck is the new KTM 390 Adventure R. $7K US or 9,800 Canadian is stupid cheap for a sub 400 pound, 44 horsepower serious adventure bike. It's got the tech, it's got the looks, it's got the off-road ability. Who knows if it'll ever be built and delivered, or if KTM will be around a year from now. Just kidding. Even if KTM goes belly up, someone will buy what's left and continue to build the bikes. I don't think the company or dealer network will suddenly disappear. However, this does not build confidence among potential customers. Add to that KTM's questionable reliability, and you have to pause and consider whether you want to deal with the headaches. If this bike was a Honda, I'd already own it. But because it's a KTM, I'm not sure. Finally, I have to take into account motorcycles that look like they're going to be released at the next EICMA show in November, and there are two that are relevant. KTM looks ready to release the 690 Adventure R. Check out my video on that bike in the top right corner. This thing is basically a 690 Enduro R with a bigger tank and fairing and looks absolutely perfect. The most power with 74 horses, the most suspension travel with almost 10 inches, well under 400 pounds. But in addition to coming with the same questions that plague the 390 Adventure R, this thing will cost you. The Enduro R costs $13,000 US and $14 Canadian, and you can bet that an Adventure version will cost more. The 390 Adventure R only costs 700 Canadian dollars more than the Enduro R, so even if KTM keeps those 690 prices close to the Enduro, we're still talking almost 20,000 Canadian when you account for dealer fees, taxes, and some accessories. I like the idea of this bike, but I'm not sure I like it 20,000 worth. But then we come to the motorcycle Kawasaki teased at EICMA 2024. Let's call it the KLE 500. And this may be your reliable Japanese unicorn. All we know about this motorcycle is that it will have a 21-inch front wheel and a 452cc parallel twin from the Ninja 500. This motor makes 47 horsepower and is smooth and plenty powerful enough to cruise the highway at some pretty extra legal speeds. Don't ask me how I know. The only thing I don't like about this engine is the 180-degree crank. Sounds a bit bland. However, weight-wise, Kawasaki's current small adventure bike, the Versys X, weighs well under 400 pounds, so I would hope that the KLE also slips under that limit. Though A2 power-to-weight ratio regulations might have something to say about that. I have no idea what Kawasaki would charge for a bike like that, but the other Kawasaki's running that engine, the Eliminator, the Ninja 500, and the Z500 are all reasonably priced. It will be more expensive than the Versys X, which runs $5,700 US and $7,250 Canadian, but hopefully it's not running up close to Tenere 700 prices like the DRZ4S. I have to say, if I sell the T7, and I'm not 100% committed to that, mostly due to the fact that I have it set up right for me suspension and accessory wise, this new Kawasaki could tempt me more than any other bike. It's Japanese, it'll be reliable, it'll be smooth and powerful and hopefully significantly lighter than a T7, and if it's also significantly less expensive, it'll be hard to resist. So that's my dilemma. What do you think I should do? Sell this great bike in hopes that the grass is greener on the other side, or hold on to it? What bike would you like to see on the channel in the future? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Ride safe, check out some of these other videos that may be of interest to you, and may the spokes be with you.